We started locked up, we ended locked up. I really call this the injury episode. Guys, stay tuned. Your Harlot After Show starts next.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Yep,
This
so
song.
fitting.
It really is
So
fitting. I felt locked into this episode.
I know, locked into the episode. The characters were locked up.
Yes. Akon.
So much
you
action.
couldn't have said it more perfectly.
Right?
Guys, I'm Linda Antwi. Welcome to the Harlot After Show and my fabulous co-host.
What's up, guys? This is Mariel Turner.
Overall thoughts?
Oh, wow. It was just so much happening. I feel like the show is really like kind of packing it in towards the end. It's a lot of action. Some of our characters ended up in completely different circumstances by the end of the episode, so I was really shocked.
I was too. I felt like they pushed the fast forward button.
Yes.
And they're like really tying all of the characters together and all the houses together. So this episode was the first time where it wasn't just like the Wells house and Lydia's house and Emily's house. Everyone was interacting with everyone and everything was like tied together. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. There's a lot happening right now.
Yeah, you can tell it's getting close to the end.
I
you
know.
can tell.
No. Well, let's jump right in. So I first wanted to talk about Charlotte and Lydia. So we get back. We see her still locked up in the room. She hears Lord Fitz and Lydia talking about the Virgin and what happened and all of that. And you could tell that she felt sick about it. What were your thoughts about that?
I think it was very interesting because the conversations that they had really did kind of show that dynamic and how Charlotte was very torn up about it. And at the same time, Lydia kind of felt like she was doing her a favor. She even mentioned, you know, like, this, I'm doing this for a reason. She'll thank me.
Yeah.
And just to see that dynamic, it really seems like it's almost like a love-hate, or maybe like Charlotte hates her, but on some level she also admired her, I think, or was kind of learning from her and getting pulled into the Lydia web. So I don't think it's as black and white as it seems.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I thought it was interesting when Lucy came to see her and she had to pretend like, hey, everything is good. It's not a good time for me right now. Go talk to mom. But all is good here.
Yeah. I was hoping that she wouldn't have to. Like, she could probably kind of find some way to give her the truth. But then clearly it was obvious that, like, there was no way for that to happen. And I also think Lucy's so much of a lost soul right now that she wouldn't even listen to anything Charlotte has to say anyway.
I mean, I don't even know what's going on with her exactly, and we'll get into her shortly. But for Lord Fallon to show up there as well at Lydia's house, I was like, okay, he's a little bit of a stalker, and he's almost obsessed with her at this point.
He is, and it's like, how did he even, you know, for him to show up, know that she was there, say, oh, you have to leave, and I mean, he's clearly showing kind of his crazier side,
his
the side that
side.
the side that makes him a killer. Is definitely starting to come out in his relationship with Lucy.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. What I didn't like was the little snitch girl who came and told on Charlotte. So I'm calling this guy Chester Guy. I don't know his exact name, but I know that they called him the money boy. So when he went and talked to Charlotte and said, hey, you know what? That's the guy that killed the previous justice. You know, you got to be careful. And then she's like, go and tell my mom, Margaret.
Yes.
And then the little snitch girl comes and says, hey, Lydia.
Just so you know,
they're conspiring. I was like, you know what?
I know.
I want to punch you in your face.
On this show.
Right.
Like, can you just keep your mouth shut?
Serious. Or mind your business. How about that? Mind your business.
Mind your business.
Why is everyone always sneaking behind a wall listening in on something that has nothing to do with them?
Like, where is privacy in this show?
For real.
No privacy.
For real. Yeah, so I was like, okay, so this is going to turn out bad. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about Lord Fallon chasing the money boy, Chester, in the street, and the results of that.
Yeah. Oh, I was so sad to see Amelia kind of caught in the middle of their cat and mouse game. And it was especially shocking because after he accidentally stabbed her, they both just ran off.
Wait, did you think it was an accident?
Yes. Well, I think he was trying to stab the money boy, and then Amelia, like, See, I was a little confused. I was like, did he push her in front so he didn't get stabbed? And that's why he ran off? Or was she kind of just, it was like a tussle? It was very confusing for me.
Well, for me, the way I saw it was that she saw that Lord Fallon was about to stab the money boy, and because she loves them and they're friends, she jumped ahead in front of him. And because Lord Fallon is such a Spartan or killer, he didn't care. He just stabbed her anyways. And then I thought, okay, this girl just saved your life, right?
Yeah.
She just saved your life, and you just left her dying in the
Like
street,
bleeding out in the
so that you could save your own self. Like, what's happening right here? What is happening right now?
It all goes back to the loyalty.
Man, no loyalty.
So it's like, really, you're just going to leave her there in the dirty, like, alleyway, bleeding out. Right. It was kind of messed up.
Yeah. Let's move on to Margaret, Will, Nancy, and Fanny. So we open up with something's not right? So she hasn't heard back from Charlotte. She doesn't know what's going on with the Virgin. And then we see Webster come knocking and beating down the door, and he's all like beaten up and broken arm. All of that. What were your thoughts on that whole situation?
I think Margaret probably, knowing that how well she knows Lydia, I think she probably should have saw that coming a little bit. But she did seem genuinely shocked and very concerned for Charlotte, which I think was nice to see from Margaret. Because a lot of times it seems that she can be all business with her daughters. So it was nice to see her actually caring, like, oh my God, she's locked up, what's happening, and seeing concerned about where that was going to go.
Yeah, she definitely seemed troubled. And then when she told Fanny to go get Nance, I almost feel like she looks at Nance as the savior, because anytime something happens, she's like, go get Nance, which I get that those two are like thick as thieves, but at the same time, like, you also have a husband, Will, right there. Like,
I know.
I don't know. I'm
like,
just
Nance
saying.
is not the bodyguard.
Right.
And she's already been whipped and lashed. And
Right. So, I mean, who knows? And then when Justice Hunt comes to talk to Margaret, because he finds out that Mrs. Scandal used to be a harlot. And because he wanted to marry Amelia, he was like, I am pristine and I cannot have this, and you lied and all this stuff. I thought, okay, first of all, calm down.
Calm down, sir.
Calm all the
Deep
way down.
breaths.
Take several seats. It's going to be okay. What did you think of his response?
I thought it was typical Justice. I mean, like, he's very, like, holier than thou, and he holds himself to a certain standard, and I think he kind of looks his nose down a little bit at anyone that doesn't reach that standard, which is kind of an impossible standard to reach. Yeah. But it was fitting for his character.
Absolutely, I think so too. So we see Fanny go get Nance, and then as they're coming back to the house, they run into Amelia bleeding in the streets. So between those two and the Justice, they get her back to Margaret's house. And then Nance tells Mrs. Scandal, her mom, what happened. And I just thought, like, how sad. Like, you're trying to marry off your daughter.
I know.
And she's trying to run away with Violet, which is a whole other dirty, crazy situation. And then she comes back, she's all heartbroken, and she tries to do the right thing, and she gets stabbed. So her mom freaks out, obviously, as any mother would. And then that brings me to my first quote of the show. It's from Margaret, and she's saying it to Mrs. Scandal. She says, "Come now, she needs your strength, not your woe." And I thought that was a really powerful quote.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was, sometimes it's true. Like, you may be torn up about something, but you really do have to be strong. And so I think that's one of the running themes of the show, is that the women go through so much, but they always remain strong, and they're always smart and witty. I think it was really relevant.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I noticed that Charlotte and Lucy, and we can talk about this a little bit more later, but I wanted to bring it up. Charlotte and Lucy have almost a rivalry going on right now. And that's kind of intertwined in both of their storylines. Like, who's the better harlot sister, maybe? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I definitely see that kind of, like, tension growing, especially as Lucy continues to change. And Harlot. Sorry, guys, it's been a long day. Charlotte
is a harlot, so I get it.
She is. Continues to change as well, and so I think that may come to a head. We're not going to jump into predictions yet, but I do think it might come to a head by the finale.
Yeah. I mean, I already know I'm bracing myself for that finale because it's already jam-packed. All right, let's jump into Lord Fallon and Lucy. So Lord Fallon, we already know he's a killer. He's like a serial killer now. I mean, I don't know how many people you have to kill to become one, but he's killed at least 2 that we know of, right? So he finds out that this money boy has figured out that he killed the justice. Right. So he goes after the money boy, but at the same time he's trying to keep Lucy in the dark. But I feel like in her gut she knew what they were talking about. You know, oh, there he is. He is a Spartan. A Spartan and a scoundrel.
Spartan serial killer.
Yes. And I also thought that between him like being so readily available to kill and him being obsessed with Lucy, that he's about to like jump off the rails a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much further he could jump because he's already so off the rails, but I do think it's clear that their relationship has come kind of toxic, and he also made it very obvious in the episode that he really does not care about Lucy at all.
No, he doesn't.
On no level.
On no level. She's like he owns her, he feels like.
Yeah.
Right? And I remember last episode he called her a hostage, and he's really treating her like that. But at the same time, there's something about her that's compelling to him. And there's something about her that he can't let go of because we know that he follows her, as we said before. But when she starts to backtrack on her confession, he looks at her like, no, I know you killed that guy. And I almost love it about you. Didn't you get that vibe from him?
I think he admires the fact that she killed someone.
Yeah.
Because, he relates to that, right?
Yeah.
So I think he's kind of like, yeah, you killed someone, but it's okay. And I also think he doesn't enjoy being lied to. So I think when she was kind of saying, oh, actually, I didn't mean that, it was the drug, I think he was kind of put off by that because he wants the truth. So...
Yeah. I mean, I don't know so much maybe wants the truth, but he wants her to own it because he owns his in his weird way.
Exactly.
And then when Margaret comes to warn her, right? So now Margaret's not only worried about Charlotte and what's going on with her, she's worried about Lucy, her other daughter. So she comes to warn her and she's like, oh, can I speak to you privately? And when Lucy's like, oh, there's no secrets between us, I was like, again, I wanted to punch her in the face.
I know. I used to really like Lucy.
For real.
And now I'm just so over her.
I don't know what her game plan is. Like, what game are you playing? Cause
exactly.
It was about the money at first, and now I'm not quite sure what your game plan is. But I have some ideas, and I'll leave it for predictions. But when I was listening to, like, that conversation and seeing their interaction, I was like, you know what? No.
Yeah.
You need to listen to, first of all, you need to listen to your mom. Second of all, you can't get like wrapped up in this crazy situation that you're in, but okay, we'll see. My second quote of the day comes from this situation. Again, it's Margaret. And she says, I cannot say any clearer, this man is a killer. And then when Lucy says, so am I was like, okay, so now it's the second time you said this. And your mom's like, what exactly have you told him? Like,
and why?
Like, why? You're not an aristocrat. You're not a lord. You're a harlot telling a lord that you've killed someone.
She's making herself so vulnerable, and I think she thinks that it's independence.
Yeah.
And that's why she's doing this. Like, I'm my own woman, and I accept all the things I've done, and look how bad I am. But really... it's just not smart.
It's not
you're
smart
gonna get
at all
yourself
because
caught
he's
up.
going to turn on you in a heartbeat, which we see.
Exactly.
Because
30 seconds later.
30 seconds later, he kicks Margaret out and he says, make sure that you don't say anything and that Amelia doesn't say anything if she doesn't die. Because in a heartbeat, I will hang your daughter.
Exactly.
She will be dead.
Like, he
That's
doesn't
it.
care.
Just like that.
He doesn't care, and I wish Lucy, when I was watching it, I just wish that Lucy, like everybody else in the show, had been eavesdropping so that she could see that he's not really about her. He's not about her independence and her growth and being bad. He's just evil, and he's out to get her, and she should probably stop telling him her secrets. Probably.
Yeah, I was just like, you know what? This is all kinds of wrong.
It is.
And it's going to be all kinds of wrong
She's
shortly.
a lost soul.
Or is she just silly. Like, it's not bright. Because I thought at first she was going to be the one that was like the brightest and like a chess player, you know, making the right moves. And now I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. I think Charlotte's kind of taking on that role a little bit more than our girl Lucy here. But hopefully there's hope for her to, you know, be enlightened and come
Speaking
to her
of being enlightened.
Yes, so we have a lot of enlightening shows on AfterBuzz. Our network produces after shows for nearly all your favorite TV shows, from dramas, reality TV, sci-fi, and more. There is no network that works harder to serve television fans, but we need your help, guys. We're asking that you please subscribe to one or more of our YouTube channels. By subscribing to our channel, YouTube will suggest content that's tailor-made for you, and you'll help AfterBuzz continue to grow. And if you're worried about those annoying pesky notifications, don't worry, guys, because they're optional. So hit that subscribe button now for this channel and check out our other AfterBuzz YouTube channels as well. Let us know you did in the comments. We love comments. We'll definitely read them, and we will thank you on air. For now, thanks for being the best fans and for helping us be the ESPN of TV talk.
Thanks, guys. We love you. We love you.
We do. So subscribe.
Comment. All of that good stuff. And if you're listening to us on iTunes, please make sure that you give us a 5-star rating and comment, because we love that too.
5 stars.
5 stars. Let's move on. Let's go to Justice Hunt, Violet, Amelia, and Mrs. Scandal. So in this episode, that whole thing is a mess between Violet and Amelia, and their like weird love situation where Violet, I think, is completely jealous that she said, yes, I'll marry Justice Hunt. And then we find out more about Mrs. Scandal and her harlot ways and how it's going to affect her daughter. So at the end of the day, you're like, okay, I'm this reformed woman, and you know what they always say, the person that screams the loudest is always the one that's like the same. And I can't remember the exact quote, but
or like the most guilty.
Or was there, like, you live that lifestyle, or you do live like that lifestyle, whatever that quote is, that's her.
Yes.
You know, she's screaming the loudest, and we saw throughout the season how she's like shaming our harlots, and then you know what, guess what? She was a harlot.
Exactly. Your own past comes out. And touching on the Violet situation, I think Violet is a little heartbroken by it. And I also think she's trying to kind of push Amelia away and being a little bit more realistic. And I think that's why she was like, I shouldn't have done this with you, and this was just a dalliance. And basically using like defense mechanism so that she doesn't get hurt by them eventually getting married. Yeah. I do think that was kind of a front, and really, she cares a lot about her.
I agree with that, and I also think that she's scared of what's going to happen to her, because when she tells the justice, like, when Amelia comes, you're not going to need me, so she'll be your cleaning person, but then she flips it and says, well, I can be your eyes and ears on the street if you pay me. So I could see how she was trying to see, how am I going to fit in this situation still, and what exactly am I going to do about it? So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I think that would be great for her in a way, because she says she always craves her freedom. Yeah. So that would put her, you know, back on the streets, having her freedom, and she's getting paid, which is something that's not happening right now. So I think she is trying to navigate and see where she could, you know, be useful in the future if Amelia does marry the justice. Yeah. Assuming she, you know, doesn't die.
Exactly. And this brings me to my next quote of the show. It is from the new harlot. So the new harlot is sitting with Mrs. Scandal, and she says, Mrs. Scandal, the perverted converted, which was written in the newspaper. And I thought that was hilarious, because it's true. The perverted converted.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens with that whole situation. I'm not quite convinced that the justice is completely out, just because of the way he's caring for Amelia now that she's been stabbed.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna let that go so easily. I do think he has holds a special place in his heart for her. So it'll be interesting to see how that progresses.
Yeah, agreed. Lord and Lady Fitz, guys. I have to take a deep breath. I just, this guy is the worst. Okay, so at first I thought Lord Fallon was the worst. But Lord Fitz he's the worst.
Yes.
And he's the worst because not only is he like a rapist of virgins, but he's a molester.
Yes.
And finding out that he molested his
own sister.
And that kid that we haven't met yet is his. I was like, I'm done.
It was too much. It was like
I'm done.
It was like Jamie Lannister on Game of Thrones, but like times 20.
Times
you know?
20.
Like,
and when he said, what did he say? It's been too many moons since I've broken a girl, and attacks her and jumps on her. I was like, just please stab him.
yeah, and
Just stab him.
It made me so heartbroken for Lady Fitz because, you know, she's pretty much helpless. You know, she was raped by her brother. And in that time period, that's basically, she takes the blame, right? So she can't get married, and she's basically stuck under his thumb because I think she said his lustfulness, I can't remember her exact quote, but something about like him being lustful kind of stole her future.
Well, not just that, he took her virginity, right? And then he said she was the most perfect act of his whole life. So you can tell not only is he a pervert, but he wrecked it for his sister forever because she says to Charlotte later on that she hasn't been with anyone ever since.
Right. And it's just so heartbreaking.
It really is.
I mean, it's heartbreaking to go through that trauma with a stranger, let alone your own flesh and blood brother. I mean, it's just,
controls all the money, controls you, and then when she says that, well, I will, if something happens, I'll leave you if you continue to do this to me or continue to touch me. And he's like, where are you gonna go?
Oh, and that just
like,
hit me right in like the
oh,
heart.
I hate you.
I know, because he was kind of right. You
Yeah.
know, like her options are so limited because of women's place in society. And I think that's so much of the message of this show is that, like, even though they have all of this will for better lives, they're not the ones in power. And it's just,
which we've talked about as a theme throughout. So it's kind of sad.
It is. It was really heartbreaking.
Let's move on to Charles, Emily, Harriet, Limehouse Nell, and Cherry. So this house, the exotic house, I call it, is a hot mess. It's a hot mess because Charles is so lazy. I'm not sure exactly what his role is because all I ever see him do is laying down and eating.
I know. I think he's just comic relief.
That's exactly the best way to put it. He is comedy. He is comedy. But when Harriet walks in on Emily and Charles, and Charles tells her that Emily is pregnant, her face, Harriet was like, what is going on? Like, this is not a business. You two are a mess.
Yes, like, this is dysfunction. This is not how you make money. And ultimately, the goal of the house is to bring in money.
Right.
And, you know, she also has her children to think about. So, yeah, that look, she was over it. Then I love what she discussed later about the conversation she was having with the other harlot.
Who now?
Yes, about, you know, kind of them forming a house of
Oh,
their
I loved it. When I loved it. And sorry to cut you off, but when Nell suggests that the black girls should run the house of like, exotics, I was like, yes, that's exactly what you two should do. You two are the hardest working in the house. Get rid of Cherry because she's a mess.
Yes,
and
sloppy.
Who cares about Emily and Charles? Let them do their own thing. Bring in some more exotics and run that.
Yes.
And when she said, and then when Harriet said, well, have you ever seen anyone that looks like us run a house like this? Well, obviously you haven't, but guess what? Be the first.
Exactly. Try to be the first.
Be the first. Be pioneers. Be the ones that set the tone. Because obviously there's...
Yes. Round of applause.
Because obviously there's a market for it, and you two are working hard to just do it.
Yes, I would love, love, love to see a black woman running her own house, you know, and dispersing that income amongst her fellow black women in Harlot's era, 18th century.
Right,
I would love it.
Absolutely. And not just the black women, but the exotics. Like anyone that seems different.
Yeah.
Because even in that time, and as we've learned in Harlot history, everything was about being pale and the rosy cheeks and like the white wigs, all that stuff, which, you know, doesn't translate to anyone who's of color or different.
Yes.
So I feel like this would be a good move for that Harlot family there.
I hope it happens.
And then let's quickly talk about Cherry because we see that Emily's not happy with her when she walks in and she's like feeding Charles the cherries, which I thought was funny. Cherries by Cherry. But then we also see her run and snitch on Charlotte to Lydia. And that's where we see how she kind of the catalyst of why things are going so bad, right? Because she keeps going to Lydia and snitching on Charlotte, snitching on Margaret, and snitching on Lady Fitz.
Yeah.
Right? And so when she says that Charlotte is the glue that is
holding it all
yes. together, I was like, oh, see.
I know. I was like, Cherry, why? Why can't people keep their mouth shut?
Mind your own business, Cherry. And then she hands out and she gets some pennies or whatever she got. I was like,
right.
was it worth it?
And then
you run back to the house. Are you kidding me?
And play the other side.
Are you kidding me, you little snitch?
I just can't. Don't they know that snitches get stitches?
Snitches get stitches. Okay.
Gosh.
And then, so when Charles visits Lydia and tells her that Emily is pregnant in Lydia's face, so
she's like over it.
Listen, Emily, you better just be on Charles every day, all day, and not leave that bed and actually get pregnant, because this little lie that you told that is spreading so quickly is going to be your downfall for sure.
Growing. And I think that's why in the one sex scene they had, she was like, come on, you gotta get it up, because she's really motivated to get pregnant now, because it appears to be she's not really pregnant.
Not at all. So I think that we have covered most of the episode.
We have.
Right?
Yes.
But I did want to talk, before we move on to our special segments, Charlotte and Lydia and their confrontation.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of things. So not only does Charlotte get confronted by the Virgin, and the Virgin's like, you know what? I want you to pay. I want everyone to pay. Mm-hmm. You robbed me of my childhood. And she says, you have killed their child, meaning like you've killed my parents' child. You've killed me. Mm-hmm. And like, why would you do that? And then we see Charlotte and Lydia kind of talking, and Lydia's asking, like, was all of this a lie? Like, all that you're doing, was this a lie? Because you seem like you're a traitor. Mm-hmm. And Charlotte says, no, until you tried to auction this girl for rape.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? So, and she's like, did you do it because this happened to you? Like, what is your deal? And then she said, whoever the guy that took Lydia's virginity, he taught me love is strongest when it's cruel. He gave me fortitude. And I thought, that is really terrible.
Yeah.
For you to, if you think that.
It was really sad. And it kind of, Charlotte ended up saying just right after that what I felt like was kind of my favorite quote of the episode, and like tying this in, she says, is it ease your pain inflicting it upon others? And I think this is why Lydia does act the way she acts and does the things she does, because hurt people.
Yeah, you're right.
And it's clear that she thinks that hurt that she had when she was young, she's gifting it to other women. Yeah, everyone. To everybody.
To everyone she comes across, all the women she comes across.
And calling it fortitude.
Man, you know what? Listen.
That acting, though, in that scene was amazing.
It was.
They were on it.
All of it. The whole episode was incredible.
Yeah.
So then Charlotte attacks Lydia and basically chokes her out. And if it wasn't for Margaret, she'd be dead.
Which would kind of solve their problems.
I know.
I mean, I don't think anyone should kill, but you guys are trying to take her down, and you've spent almost 2 seasons trying, so...
I know, and then when Margaret says, hey, you know what, I don't want that on your conscience... I was like,
Yeah.
I mean, how are we going to get rid of Lydia then? Because she's clearly not going to stop, because we've tried, like you said, for 2 seasons. And she's like a cockroach. She always comes back.
She always comes back. So she has the law in her pocket.
Right. So, I mean, besides, strangling her, I don't know what else to do. Okay, but what was great about this whole episode, was that we see the Wells sisters and the mom back together. So Margaret takes Charlotte back home. She's like, I'm taking her home. Don't follow us. Don't do anything, because I will kill you if you retaliate. And then as they get back to the Wells house, we see that Lucy's there as well. Mm-hmm. So I thought, oh, the gang is back together. That's so great.
Temporarily.
Temporarily, at least. Yes. Let's move on to our Harlot of the Week segment.
Okay. All right, guys, we're going to go into Harlot of the Week, who we felt was really the most powerful harlot of the episode. And this week, I chose Margaret for that ending that I did not see coming at all. And I feel like she really stepped up as a mother and not so much as a board, but as a mother to Charlotte and Lucy. And she took the fall for Lucy, which I'm just happy to see her kind of getting out of the business role and more into the personal role. And it was a very selfless act. So I gave her my Harlot of the Week.
She is also my Harlot of the Week because she, like you said, was the sacrificial lamb to save her daughters. So not only did she falsely admit to killing that lord to protect Lucy, but she also knew that she was doing this to protect her household. And when she said to her husband, you know, make sure you take care of everything, I thought, wow, you know what? A few episodes ago, you would not have done that. You were all about making money and making sure that the house was running. And I've seen you become a little, not softer, as in you're not a strong woman, but softer in your approaches to your relationships.
Yes.
Even with Fanny, she's like, make sure you take care of your daughter. And I thought, wow, okay, Margaret, I see you.
Yeah.
And she was everywhere. She not only was with her daughters and protecting them, but she was with Amelia and helping Amelia and with Nats, like the whole episode. So yes, she definitely is the Charlotte of the Week, or Charlotte.
I know.
I just did it.
It's
the
so
Charlotte
easy.
Harlot. Margaret.
Charlotte.
Yeah, Margaret
Speaking
is the
of
Charlotte Harlot.
Margaret also apologized to her this episode too,
Which was
for
amazing.
even getting her in the harlot business.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's definitely the harlot of the
Harlot
week.
of the Week, for sure. And then our favorite little episode and segment is Harlot History. Let's move on to that.
Yes, let's.
So we're going to talk about Harlot History. And we have a little video for you about the progression of harlot hair.
Yes, because it was interesting, right? Let's take a look.
We're going to bring you a hair tutorial inspired by their new show, Harlots. The show is about two rivaling houses, and today I am going to show you a hair tutorial inspired by one of the ladies from one of the houses, who is Margaret Wells, the daughter of one of the owners of the houses. I am going to show you how to recreate a hairstyle that is inspired by the hairstyles that she tends to wear on the show. So it is quite a typical 18th century hairstyle, and as you may know, the 18th century hair was quite extravagant. Huge hair, very flamboyant type of hairdressing. You would see mostly silk flowers and pearls in the hair. Feathers were really popular as well. And also around this time, we see a lot of wigs. Wigs actually gained popularity as the hairstyles grew and grew and grew, both in size and in elaborateness. It is so much easier to just pop on a wig and be able to have like just a light hairstyle underneath. And then when you come home, to be able to take the big elaborate hair off and just kind of have a lighter head. Let's jump into the tutorial. I'm going to start by spraying my hair with a little bit of
Tutorial,
Yeah.
I watched it earlier. It's actually quite amazing.
It really is that a modern day woman can recreate it so realistically. But yeah, you know, one of the hairstyles that we see in the show are pretty stunning actually, and kind of over the top. And just based off a little bit of research that I was doing, it kind of looked like the height of the hair started in like the mid 18th century and kind of just grew from there.
Yeah, so with the hair, first of all, I want to say, so 1 in 5 women in the 18th century were prostitutes. And with the hair, the higher the hair, it was more like the higher your royalty and the more respect you got. So I thought it was interesting because as we look at the harlots and we look at their hairstyles, you see that the more elaborate it was almost like the more beautiful you were portrayed. And even with the men. So I pulled a few pictures up. So this is 18th century harlot, and you see like the ringlets were a big deal. And just putting that in your own hair and in the wigs showed, hey, like I am somebody. And then if we move over to the next one, we see how it progressed. So we have 1750s. And what's just funny is to 2017, you see like ringlets are just powerful.
Yeah.
Right? They're powerful and they represent beauty, I would say. And if you look at the fourth picture, I brought that one in as well because I was reading that the curls for the men represented their stature. So one curl was like your stature was here, but if you had 2 curls, you were above that person, which I thought was interesting in the wigs and why they wore them.
Yeah, It's definitely so interesting how, like, they kind of were showing their status and their physical appearance and things that we wouldn't even think of, like curls in your hair. Or I also read that they used to sometimes put cushions in their hair to make it even higher, which is just so crazy to think and seems very like it would be uncomfortable to me.
Yeah, and it's interesting how you have to continue to say, like, I'm the greatest, or I'm rich, or I'm this or that. Not, like you said, not only in the way you speak and the makeup, like we learned last week, but in the wigs and how you do your hair.
Yeah.
It's like it's all part of
The persona.
Of being wealthy and an aristocrat.
Yes, and powerful. A lord or lady.
Right? And then I wanted to do, so we talked about a few quotes. My quote of the week right now is from Lydia, and I mentioned it earlier. He taught me love is strongest when it's cruel. He gave me fortitude. That was going to be my quote of the show. And because it leaves it open to discussion.
It does.
You know?
It does.
Love should never be cruel. And
it shouldn't.
I don't think that it does make you stronger if it is cruel. And giving you fortitude, I'm not sure. I think like what you said, touched on earlier, I think just pain begets pain. So that's what I think.
Yeah, mine is also the quote that I mentioned earlier. Speaking of pain, does it ease your pain inflicting it upon others? And I think that really is just a running theme of the show, that people are hurting other people.
Right, and continuing to hurt other people.
And it's really not going to, at least I don't think it'll end up well in the end.
Well, we already know that it's not going to end up well. They're setting it up for it not to end up well at all. I wanted to give a few shout outs. We love hearing from you, like we've said, and we read all your comments, and when you add us and you watch us on YouTube, we respond. And I wanted to give a shout out to Megan Numerdos. She talked about how there was no way that Emily was pregnant, and she believes that Lord Fitz might be like the head Spartan of them all, which, you know, we'll get into predictions. And then Solara J, she thinks that Molly, the Molly boy, the money boy.
Yeah, the money boy.
Might be Lady Fitz's son.
Yes. Before this episode, I would have thought that, but she did mention that it was a daughter in boarding school. So,
but shout out to you guys. Thank you for watching us and subscribing to us. And you guys said such nice things this week. They talked about how they love that there's a Harlot After Show. They love our theories. So sweet, guys. And they subscribe to our channel because of it. So thank you guys. Keep the comments coming. We love hearing from you.
Yeah, definitely.
Should we get into some predictions?
Let's do it.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
All right, you're up.
Okay, so I think obviously because Margaret is our main girl that she will not be hung. She will live and she will make it out of jail. Now, what happens after that, I couldn't say, but I think it's too early for her to just be dead. I don't think they're going to go full Game of Thrones and kill her off. I also think that Lucy is in grave danger. And I don't think she realizes it yet. I don't know exactly what will happen there. And I'm really rooting for my girl Charlotte to do something something permanent for Lydia's. I can't see her fully, falling down and being totally out of the game, but something to just knock her down a few pegs because I think she needs it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so my predictions. I think that Charlotte and Lydia are not done yet. Even though that Charlotte's out of the house, I think now it's going to be a full-on war between the Wells house and Lydia's house. And I think that with Margaret being in jail, Charlotte's the one that's going to be leading that war. And I think that it's going to, because there's only 2 episodes left in this season, that it's going to be a full-on bloodbath type of war. Brutal war, yeah. So that's my prediction for them. With Margaret, I don't know. I think that she's not going to get off scot-free. And I think that she may not get hung, but something bad is going to happen to her. And I don't want to commit to her being killed off, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Really?
It wouldn't surprise
I hope
me.
not.
It wouldn't surprise me at all because, you know, like I said earlier, she made herself the sacrificial lamb, and she is basically the start of it with Lydia and Lydia bringing her in. So it'd be fitting for her to end it in a way. So we'll see. I think that we're going to see more of Lord Fallon and Lord Fitz. And I think that Lord Fitz is actually the head Spartan. And I think that Lucy is going to be the one that takes them down.
I'd like to see that.
And the reason why I believe that is because we saw her, we already know that she's admitted to being a killer and she's okay with it. We see her getting more diabolical as each episode goes on. And she was learning to fight or spar last episode. And I feel like she's just kind of shut down. So I can see her being the one that is the killer and takes them all out.
Hey, I'm here for it. Especially Lord Fitz. Like, he should go.
And then my last prediction. Oh, well, I have two more. So I think that Justice, I think Amelia is going to be fine. I think she's going to completely, fully recover. I think she will tell on Lord Fallon. And I also think that the Justice and her are going to get married. I think that he with this like recovery, he's going to fall in love with her, and he's going to be like, okay, it's okay. Your mom was a harlot. And
I completely agree. Yep. I think they'll be married by the end of the season.
Yeah. And then with Lady Fitz, I think that we're going to meet her child. And I feel like even though we don't know who her daughter is, we've seen her before. We know, but we just don't know.
Somebody relevant. Yeah. I completely agree.
Yeah.
I think it's someone we already know.
Yeah.
I just don't know who.
Exactly, me too. So, guys, if you know, you have any predictions, please do comment. We love hearing from you. And on that note, I'm Linda So Girly all across social media. Make sure that you shout me out, follow me, comment, theories, whatever you want to do, because I love hearing from you.
Hey guys, I'm Mariel_Turner on all social, Twitter, Instagram. Make sure you let us know what you're thinking about Harlots.
Yeah, I mean, we're all in, guys, and it's only going to get better from here. Until next time, we'll see you. Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.